besties. You may be wondering why Liz and I are surrounded by massive piles of books.
We have this problem where rather than reading the books we have, we tend to go to the bookstore and buy new ones, and thus our TBRs are what they are.
Unfortunately, this is just like a fraction of both of our TBRs. They're the ones that we feel are like most important to get to. So we've compiled stacks of our TBR, and Liz came up with a great idea to put ourselves on a book buying ban for the month of March.
March is really long, and I feel like it's a good time to maybe bring our TBRs down a little bit so they're not so overwhelming, and so we can actually read some of the really good books that we know we have.
And then in April, I'll be buying an obscene amount of books.
Right, we'll be saving up.
It's basically free at that point.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to take you through some books that we are hoping to get to in March to bring down our physical TBRs.
Yeah. My TBR I compiled starts with all of my book club books that I have to read, and this is actually a majority of them I have not. So I have Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. This is about a woman who runs a podcast where they can call in and anonymously admit to their murders, and then someone calls in and admits to a murder she committed. So then chaos, and I'm so excited because we have a podcast to then read this. On both of our TBRs, we have Long Bright River by Liz Moore. You Love God of the Woods, which is Liz Moore's, I think, more famous book.
For sure.
I have heard really great things about this book. I don't really know much about it. I will be going in blind, which I like to do with my mystery thrillers.
Me too.
So I'm excited for this one. So that is our Mystery Thriller Book Club book picks.
First up for me is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. We read Razorblade Tears a few months ago in the BRBT book club, and absolutely were so moved and felt so deeply about that book that I decided to buy all of his books, and I will be making my way through them.
I'm in a historical book club, and we also run a literary fiction book club. So for my historical fiction, I'll be reading The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. And for our literary fiction, we will be reading Beartown by Frederick Bachman. These are two more books that I will be going in fairly blind. I've heard a couple of things, but for the most part, I really don't want to know because I don't want to go in with expectations.
She's mostly just heard me sobbing about Beartown.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Perfect. After S.A. Cosby, I am going to need something light. So I do have two romance books this month I really want to get to. Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I've heard nothing but great things. And Daydream by Hannah Grace, which is in the Icebreaker universe. Controversial. I happen to love them.
Slay. For our BRBT book club, we are both, well, you've already read, but I will be reading The Favorites. Liz has been hounding me since she finished it to read this. It is an ice skating fiction book. I am super excited to read it, and we both managed to find a signed copy.
Shopping literally in the wild, at Wild Geese Bookshop actually, and stumbled upon signed copies of The Favorite the day that Brady and Rosie announced that would be the book.
Yes, it was so exciting, so I can't wait to dive into this.
Next up for me is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. You may know Lex Croucher from YouTube or Twitter or Instagram. She wrote this like gender bending retelling of King Arthur's court. I cannot wait. I am very excited. The cover is everything to me.
This is technically a reread, but it's been a while since I read it, but you've heard me rant and rave, so I will be reading The Road of Bones this month again. We're covering this in our Romance Romantasy book club, and I want to make sure I get all the little details, so I'm super excited to dive back into the Ashen series.
Next up for me is Fable by Adrienne Young. Ever since the day that Liz and I finished The Unmaking of June Farrow, I have been chasing that high, and I figured why not just start another one of her series.
We are both going to be reading The Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Moss. We were recommended this by Liz's sister-in-law, and we're told that it is spicy. The cover art inside is absolutely stunning, which is what grabbed my eye. So we are really excited to read this. I've heard it's so good.
And even though we're constantly reading, we don't ever do buddy reads.
We don't.
So
We'll say we are, and then we're like, oh, I'm done, sorry.
Yeah, you'll wake up at 3 a.m. and finish it, and then we aren't. And so therefore, we're going to do it this time.
Yes.
Next up for me is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. These books are going super viral. The third one just came out. These are by Heather Fawcett. It's like a cozy, light academia fantasy where a professor is doing a study on fairies and then meets one that she can't resist.
You guys might recognize this from last month's TBR, but I'm finally going to be able to jump in The Will of the Many by James Islington. I'm so excited. I have a coworker who is reading this, and she says it is worth all of the hype. So I'm hoping March is chill enough that I can finally dive into this book.
I have been meaning to read Scythe for quite some time. It's been on my very, very extensive TBR, but last month our friend Rosie read it and had nothing but amazing things to say, so I moved it all the way up the list.
I'm finally going to dive into Babylonia by Costanza Casati this month. First of all, how beautiful is this book? This was an option for our literary book club, but I wasn't chosen, so
I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
Last but not least for me, I am hoping to dive into not only book 1, but also book 2 of the Bridge Kingdom series by Danielle L. Jensen. We love To Fate Inks and Blood. We can't wait for the second one, so I figured, why not start a new series?
Mine is a little out of my normal, but I'm going to be reading Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft. This is about Queen Clarion and Lord Mallory. If you know the Tinkerbell universe, you know that that lore has eluded us for many a year. And I know it's very YA, but I am going to eat this up. This might be my next book I read, in fact. This will be my first March read, I'm hoping. So
I cannot wait to read it as well. It is so cute. So excited.
yes, so that kind of makes it for my March TBR. I decided that if I do finish all of these, I'm going to go off of what I really want to read at that point rather than say I'm going to read something else, because I think sometimes we get lost in what we need to have done, which doesn't make reading any less important. But in December, we read only what we wanted to read, and it was probably one of the best months ever.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I think it's important that on these longer months that we do that as well.
I have a lot left here, as you can see, but I am being somewhat realistic, and I've only picked up the ones I really think that I'm going to get to in March. So you may see these in April.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.